Say you cheated so she keeps her scholarship, Ryan said, in front of the office door where half the senior class could hear him. Chloe Whitman stood behind him with red eyes and trembling hands, wearing my boyfriend's varsity jacket like she had earned the right to be protected by him, on the desk beside us. The academic integrity statement waited for my signature, already printed with my name, already shaped like a confession. I looked at Ryan, the boy who had held my hand through 2 years of exams, late-night study calls, and college application panic. Then I looked at the paper. You want me to admit to something I didn't do, I said, so she can keep the scholarship I earned. Ryan's jaw tightened. Avery, don't make this ugly. That was when I understood. He was not confused, he was not pressured. He was choosing. Behind the frosted glass, I could see shadows moving in the hallway. Students had stopped pretending not to listen. Someone whispered the word cheater. Chloe made a soft sound, just enough to remind everyone that she was fragile and I was the problem. I did not cry, I did not shout. I picked up the pen, uncapped it, and watched Ryan exhale as if he had already won. Then I placed the pen back on the desk without signing. The room went still. I want a copy of every document you expect me to sign, I said to the principal. I want the seating chart, the proctor report, and the official accusation in writing. Ryan stared at me. Avery, I turned my phone screen down on the desk. The voice recorder was still running. And Ryan, I said, looking straight at him, you should be very careful what you ask people to survive. That afternoon, I cleaned out my locker while Chloe's friends watched from the stairwell by sunset. I had saved every message, photographed every smear they taped to my locker, downloaded every draft I had ever written, and turned off the shared location Ryan had once called proof that we trusted each other. By midnight, my transfer application was submitted. Everyone at Westbridge High thought I was running away. They were wrong. I was leaving the crime scene intact. The first smear on my locker said cheater in red marker. The second said scholarship thief, which was almost funny, because I had been the one walking home in the rain after tutoring Chloe for free. I took pictures of both, including the edges of the paper and the tape. My hands were steady. That scared me more than shaking would have. Mia Alvarez stood 3 lockers away, clutching her calculus binder to her chest. She looked like she wanted to cross the hallway and like her feet had been nailed to the floor. Avery, she whispered. Chloe's friends turned at once. Mia stopped. I opened my locker and packed slowly. AP English folder, chemistry notebook, the old blue composition book where I copied every missed problem by hand, my spare hoodie. Ryan's birthday card from last spring sat on the top shelf, folded into the shape of a heart because he had thought that was cute. I left it there at the end of the hall. Ryan appeared. He had changed out of his blazer, but Chloe's lip gloss still shone faintly on the sleeve of his jacket where she had cried into it. He looked around before he came to me, making sure he had an audience and pretending he did not care about one. You didn't have to make it a war, he said. I didn't, I said. You brought me a confession with my name already on it. It would have been temporary. A record is not temporary. A lie in a college file is not temporary. His voice dropped. Chloe's father is on the board. If this goes further, they can make your life hard. I zipped my backpack. They already started. I can help you. I looked at him then, really looked, at the clean collar, the practiced concern. The boy who used to quiz me with flashcards while my mother slept before another night shift. I saw the exact moment he expected memory to weaken me. No, I said, you can help Chloe. That's what you chose. Don't insult me by pretending this is protection. His eyes flicked to the students watching us. He smiled the kind of smile adults trusted. You're upset. We'll talk when you're calm. A week earlier, that sentence would have made me wonder if I was being unfair. Now I heard the structure underneath it. If I defended myself, I was emotional. If Chloe cried, she was wounded. If Ryan chose her, he was compassionate. If I refused to disappear, I was making things ugly. I took the card from my locker. After all, Ryan's mouth softened. Avery, I tore it once, then twice, then dropped the pieces into the recycling bin between us. The smile left his face when I walked out. The laughter followed me down the hall. I counted my steps so I would not turn around. 32 to the trophy case, 16 to the front doors. 9 down the steps where Ryan had kissed me after my first citywide practice win and told me no one deserved the scholarship more than I did. Outside, Mom's old Civic waited under the yellow school light. She had come straight from the hospital, her scrubs were wrinkled, her eyes were tired. When she saw my face, she did not ask if I had cried. She opened the passenger door. "Get in," she said. I climbed in with my backpack on my lap. For 3 blocks, neither of us spoke. Then I handed her the unsigned statement. She read it at a red light, her fingers tightened on the wheel. "Did you cheat?" "No." "Did they ask you to say you did?" "Yes." The light turned green, a horn blared behind us. Mom did not move for another full second, then she drove. "Tell me everything," she said. So I did. I told her about Chloe borrowing my notes, about Ryan saying Chloe could not lose her scholarship, about the principal calling it a misunderstanding while placing a confession in front of me. I told her about the whispers, the papers on my locker, the way Ryan looked relieved when I picked up the pen. Mom listened until we pulled into our apartment complex. The streetlight above our parking space flickered as if it were also exhausted. "What do you want to do?" she asked. "Transfer," I said. "Appeal the accusation, keep every record, sit for the citywide final through another school if they let me. And Ryan." My throat closed for the first time that day, not because I wanted him back, but because saying his name still pulled on the 2 years I had not faked. "Ryan is evidence now," I said. Mom looked at me for a long moment, then she nodded once. "Then we start with copies." That night, while she made coffee, she was too tired to drink. I created a folder on my laptop called Westbridge File. I saved Ryan's texts first, the one from 4:13 p.m., glowed at the top of the screen. "Please, Chloe can't lose this. You're strong enough to survive it." I stared at that sentence until it stopped feeling like a wound and started looking like proof. Then I saved it in 3 places. The next morning, Westbridge High sent my mother an email with the subject line "Confidential Resolution Meeting." They scheduled it for 10. During her only sleep window between hospital shifts, the message was polite, almost delicate, as if they were inviting us to tea instead of asking a 17-year-old girl to confess to academic dishonesty. Mom printed it out, placed it beside the unsigned statement, and read both twice. "They keep saying resolution," she said, "not investigation, because they already chose the ending." She looked up. "Then we bring our own beginning." We arrived 20 minutes early. I wore a plain black sweater and tied my hair back. I did not wear the silver bracelet Ryan had given me after junior prom. I did not wear the necklace with the tinier charm he bought as a joke and then loved seeing on me. I left both in a showbox under my bed, not because I was sentimental, but because evidence needed clean hands, and so did I. The front office fell silent when we walked in. Mrs. Dean, the secretary, looked at me the way people look at a car crash after swearing they are not staring. "Principal Whitaker is expecting you," she said. Of course he was. The conference room had a long oak table, 3 water bottles, and a stack of papers arranged with theatrical care. Principal Whitaker sat at the head. Mr. Moreno, the academic dean, sat beside him. Ms. Carter, my AP English teacher, was there too, her face tight with something I could not read. Ryan stood near the window. Chloe was not present. That told me everything. "Avery," Principal Whitaker began, "thank you for coming in, Mrs. Collins. We appreciate your willingness to help us resolve a painful situation with discretion." Mom did not sit. "Who accused my daughter?" Mr. Moreno cleared his throat. The similarities between Avery's exam and Miss Whitman's exam triggered a review. "At this stage, we are avoiding accusatory language. You printed a confession with my daughter's name on it." A beat of silence. Ryan glanced at me, not with guilt, with warning. I pulled out my notebook. "I would like the seating chart, the proctor notes, both exam packets, the chain of custody for the exams, and the written policy explaining why I was asked to sign a statement before a completed review." Principal Whitaker's smile thinned. "Avery, this is not a courtroom." "No," Mom said, "but it is my daughter's record." Ms. Carter shifted in her chair. "Principal Whitaker, those requests are reasonable." Mr. Moreno shot her a look. Ryan stepped forward. "Can we not turn this into a legal fight?" "Avery, I know you're hurt, I get that, but this is bigger than us. Chloe has a conditional scholarship. If it is suspended, her early admission could be reconsidered, then she should want the review done correctly. I said, "You know what I mean." "I do, that's the problem." Principal Whitaker folded his hands. "Avery, we are prepared to make this as painless as possible. If you acknowledge that the pressure of scholarship competition led to an unfortunate lapse in judgment, the school will recommend restorative action rather than formal expulsion from the scholarship pool. There may be community service, a reflection letter, nothing that has to define your future." I opened the folder and slid his own unsigned statement back across the table. "You want me to write a lie and then thank you for keeping the punishment gentle?" Ryan's face flushed. "No one is saying it like that. I am." Mom sat then, very slowly, her calm was sharper than anger. "My daughter will not sign anything today." Mr. Moreno leaned back. "Refusal to cooperate can be documented." "Document it," Mom said. "Then send us a copy." For the first time, Ryan looked uncertain. The room had been built to isolate me. They had expected tears, fear, maybe bargaining. They had not expected my mother to sit beside me like a locked door. Principal Whitaker tried another angle. "Avery, you've had an excellent reputation here. It would be unfortunate to damage it further with hostility." I looked at Ms. Carter. "Do you believe I cheated?" The question landed hard. Ms. Carter's lips parted. She looked at the men at the table, then at me. "I believe your writing has a very distinct process," she said carefully. "I would need to review the drafts and exam responses before making any claim. That was not a rescue, it was not enough to clear me. But it was the first honest sentence anyone from Westbridge had said since the accusation began." "Thank you," I said. Ryan exhaled, annoyed. "This is exactly what I mean. You're making everyone pick sides. You picked yours yesterday." He stood straighter. "I was trying to protect a person who is falling apart. Chloe had a panic attack last night. Did you know that? She couldn't breathe because she thought her whole future was over." My voice stayed even. My future was apparently acceptable collateral damage. "You are stronger than her." There it was again. The language of people who ask women to bleed quietly because they think we can survive blood loss. I wrote the sentence in my notebook. "You are stronger than her," Ryan noticed. "What are you doing?" "Keeping records." The meeting ended without resolution. Principal Whitaker promised to send documents. Mr. Moreno promised nothing. Ms. Carter followed us into the hallway and touched my arm lightly. "Avery," she said, "do you still have your old essay drafts, the ones from the identity unit last year?" "Yes." "Do not delete anything. Not drafts, not comments, not timestamps." Ryan stepped into the hallway behind her. She let go of my arm at once. "Ms. Carter," he said, smiling too politely, "can I talk to Avery alone?" "No," Mom said. His smile cracked outside. The students had changed classes. The hall was full. Chloe stood near the trophy case surrounded by friends. Her eyes were dry until she saw me. Then her face crumpled with professional timing. One of her friends whispered loud enough for me to hear, "How can Avery still show her face?" I stopped walking. Mom stopped too. Ryan came up behind us. "Please don't." I took out my phone and photographed the hallway. Chloe by the trophy case, Ryan halfway between us, the students staring, the school banner above us reading integrity, respect, excellence. A bitter little laugh rose in my chest. I swallowed it. Chloe stepped forward. "Avery, I never wanted this." "Then say what happened." Her tears paused. "Say you borrowed my notes. Say you had access to my essay drafts. Say Ryan asked me to take responsibility so you could keep your scholarship." The hallway went quiet. Chloe's mouth trembled. "Why are you attacking me?" Ryan moved to her side before I finished breathing. That image became another file in my folder, not because a photo could prove betrayal in court, but because one day I knew I might doubt how quickly he had crossed the space between us. I needed to remember that afternoon. Northbridge High called. "This is Evelyn Shaw," the woman on the phone said. "I reviewed your transfer application. Your academic record is strong, but I also see there is an unresolved integrity issue at Westbridge. I need you to understand that we cannot make that disappear." "I'm not asking you to." "Then what are you asking for?" I looked at the files open on my laptop, Ryan's texts, my drafts, the unsigned statement, the photos of my locker, a seat, I said, a desk, a fair exam. There was a pause. Come tomorrow at 8. Ms. Shaw said, bring your mother. Bring every record you have. When I hung up, Ryan had sent another message. You are blowing up your life because you're too proud to take one hit. For someone who needs it more, I saved it then. For the first time in 2 years, I did not answer him. Northbridge High did not look like the kind of place people bragged about on college applications. The brick near the entrance was chipped. The trophy case held more dust than trophies. A handmade poster for a canned food drive curled at the corners. Compared to Westbridge, with its glass science wing and donor plaques in every hallway, Northbridge looked tired. I liked it immediately tired. Buildings did not frighten me. Polished rooms had just tried to bury me. Ms. Evelyn Shaw met us in the front office with a mug of black coffee and a stack of forms. She was in her early 40s, with sharp eyes and no patience for performance. She did not hug me. She did not call me brave. She led us into a small counseling office and closed the door. Tell me the accusation, she said. I did. I kept it factual. Date, exam, similarities, meeting, statement, Ryan's request, Chloe's access to my notes, the school's refusal to release documents. Mom placed copies on the desk as I spoke. Ms. Shaw listened without interrupting. When I finished, she tapped the unsigned confession with one finger. They gave this to you before completing the review. Yes. Did you sign anything? No. Good. The word was small. But it steadied me. She leaned back. Northbridge can accept you provisionally. You would not carry Westbridge's ranking. You would have to qualify for the Citywide final through our internal assessment and the committee's independent review. Our resources are limited. We don't have Westbridge's private test prep program. We don't have their college counseling staff. I know. Students here may have heard the rumors. I know. Then understand this. I am not accepting you because I believe a dramatic story. I am accepting you because the record you brought me shows a student who keeps process evidence better than most adults. If you are lying, it will show. If you are not, that will show too. That's all I want. Mom signed the transfer forms with a hand that shook only once. I pretended not to see. By lunch, Westbridge knew. The first screenshot came from Mia, a private group chat. Chloe's friend Serena had posted a picture of the empty spot where my name used to sit on the honor board. Guess the scholarship queen ran out of tricks. Another message followed. Ryan says she transferred before the review finished. That's basically admitting it. Then Chloe wrote, I just hope she gets help. No one deserves to feel so desperate. I stared at that line until the words blurred. Chloe was good. She did not say cheater. She said desperate, softer, crueler, a word that turned ambition into sickness. Mia sent a second text. I'm sorry. I don't know what to say in there. For a moment, the old Avery wanted to reply. Please tell them the truth. Please defend me. Please be my friend loudly enough to count. I typed instead, you don't have to say anything you aren't ready to stand behind. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. I'm scared of them. I understood that. Fear was not betrayal by itself, but fear plus silence had a cost, and for once I was not volunteering to pay everyone's bill. I put my phone away. My first Northbridge class was AP English in a room with mismatched desks. The teacher, Mr. Harville, asked me to introduce myself. Every face turned toward me. Some were curious, some already knew. Rumors traveled faster than transcripts. I'm Avery Collins, I said. I transferred from Westbridge. A boy in the back muttered, that's the cheater school, right? The room tightened. Mr. Harville looked at him. Daniel, if you want to audition for the role of town crier, do it after class. A few students laughed. I did not. I took the empty desk by the window. The worksheet was on rhetorical structure. I finished it in 9 minutes, then turned it over and began writing a list in the margin of my notebook. What I had: Ryan's texts, recording from office doorway, unsigned statement, locker photos, Chloe's borrowed notes, messages, draft timestamps, potential witness, Mia, potential teacher, MS, Carter. What I needed: seating chart, proctor report, exam packet comparison, proof of Chloe access, Citywide committee acceptance at 3:15. Ryan was waiting outside Northbridge. He leaned against his car as if this were an ordinary visit, as if he were surprising me after class with fries and an apology for being late. Some Northbridge students slowed to stare. Ryan had that effect. At Westbridge, He was the boy adults trusted on site. At Northbridge, he still looked expensive enough to be mistaken for authority. "You can't just leave," he said when I approached. "I did, without talking to me. You had your chance yesterday, several times." He pushed off the car. "This transfer makes you look guilty." "To whom?" "Everyone. Everyone at Westbridge already decided, because you won't let me manage this." I laughed once. It sounded strange coming from me. "Manage this?" He lowered his voice. "Chloe's father is furious. The board is involved. You think Northbridge protects you. It doesn't. If you keep pushing, Westbridge can send a formal report to every college on your list, a false report." "Avery, don't be naive. Official language doesn't have to say guilty to ruin you. It can say unresolved concerns, it can say failure to cooperate." The old fear moved inside me. I hated that he knew exactly where to touch it. My future had always been a narrow bridge. One wrong official phrase could collapse it. Ryan saw my face and softened. "Come back, meet with Whitaker, sign a limited statement, say you shared materials carelessly and the exams got confused. Chloe keeps her scholarship, you keep a clean enough record. I can talk to my dad about helping with college fees if you lose some aid." There it was, a prettier lie to replace the ugly one. "You want to buy my silence now. I want to save us." "No, you want to save your version of yourself, the one where you protect Chloe and still get to call me your girlfriend." His expression hardened. "You are making this impossible." "Good." He stared. "Some things should be impossible," I said, "like asking your girlfriend to confess to cheating so another girl can keep what she stole." A phone buzzed in my pocket. I did not check it until I was inside Mom's car. It was from an unknown number. "This is Daniel from English. People are saying stuff, for what it's worth. You solved Harville's worksheet faster than anyone I know." I stared at it, surprised by the smallness of the kindness and how much space it took up. Then another message came in. This one from Mia. "I found something. Remember when Chloe borrowed your blue notebook before winter break? I have a picture from my story archive. She was at your locker holding it. I don't know if it helps. My hands went cold. Send it." I typed. The photo arrived a minute later. Chloe stood by my open locker, smiling at the camera, my blue composition book pressed against her chest. Ryan was in the background, laughing at something off frame. The date stamp was clear, 2 weeks before the exam that night. I added a new subfolder to Westbridge file, Chloe Access. For the first time since Ryan had said the words in the hallway, I slept through the night. Northbridge tested me on Friday, not officially. Not with the Citywide committee watching. Just 3 teachers, 1 empty classroom, and a stack of old exams pulled from a filing cabinet that smelled like dust and burnt coffee. MS. Shaw called it placement. I called it the first clean room I had entered in days. No Ryan at the door, no Chloe crying in a chair, no principal shaping my future into a confession before I sat down. Just paper, pencils, a clock, and silence. I did well, not perfectly. My calculus score was high. My English essay was stronger. And my chemistry section had one ugly mistake I saw the second I handed it in. At Westbridge, a 93 would have felt like failure. At Northbridge, it felt like ground. MS. Shaw reviewed the results in her office. "You qualify for our citywide candidate pool," she said. "But Avery, understand the committee will still require a formal review because of Westbridge's complaint. I expected that. They may ask for process evidence, drafts, notes, live explanation, maybe a controlled retest." "Good." Her eyebrows rose. "I mean it," I said. "Let them see everything." She studied me, then wrote something on a sticky note and handed it over. It was an email address. "For the Citywide Academic Office, send a concise statement, not emotional. Attach your transfer records and ask what materials they need. Do not attack Westbridge in the first sentence." I wasn't going to. "You'd be surprised how many smart students lose the room by starting with rage." I almost smiled. I can't afford rage. That evening, while Mom slept before another shift, I opened every cloud folder I owned. My laptop fan Word like it was tired of my life. I built a timeline from sophomore spring to the day of the exam, March. First draft of identity essay, saved at 1:12 a.m. April, MS. Carter comments on paragraph transitions, May. Revised version for scholarship seminar October. Chloe asks for sample structure because she is freaking out. November. I send a photo of my outline. Stupidly generous, painfully useful. December. Chloe borrows blue notebook before winter break. January. Citywide mock exam. January. After exam, Chloe cries. Ryan asks me to confess by midnight. My screen was full of file names. I renamed them with dates. I converted messages to PDFs. I took screenshots that included contact names, times, and full context. I saved the original files too, because edited evidence could be challenged. I did not know much about investigations, but I knew enough not to make clean proof look tampered with. At 1:30, Mia called. I almost let it ring out, then I answered. Hey, she whispered. Hey, are you mad at me? The answer was not simple. I was mad at the hallway, at whispers, at everyone who had seen Ryan cross to Chloe and somehow decided my silence was guilt. Mia had not invented the fire, but she had stood near it with water in her hands. I don't know, I said. She was quiet. That's fair. That made it worse. I wanted her to argue so I could hang up angry. I found more, she said. Maybe, I don't know, what. After the meeting, Chloe and Serena were in the bathroom. I was in the last stall. They didn't know. Chloe said if you take the fall, everything goes back to normal. Serena said Ryan would handle you. I recorded part of it because, I don't know, I think I knew it was wrong. My chest tightened. Send it to me, Avery. If they find out, then don't send it from your school email. Use your personal phone. And don't talk about it in writing with anyone else. You sound like a lawyer. I sound like a girl people tried to bury with paperwork. She breathed out shakily. I'm sorry. I should have stood up sooner. I closed my eyes. Sorry was a small word. Sometimes it arrived too late to prevent damage, but not too late to matter. Send the file, I said, then decide what kind of person you want to be if they ask you about it. The audio came through at 1:47 a.m. It was muffled, but clear enough. Chloe. If Avery takes the fall, everything goes back to normal. Serena. Ryan will handle her. Chloe. He better. I can't lose the Whitman scholarship over one stupid exam. I played it once, twice, then I saved it in Westbridge file under witness audio. The next day, Chloe texted me for the first time since the accusation. Avery, I know you hate me right now, but you have to understand how much pressure I'm under. My dad will never forgive me if this ruins everything. Please don't make this worse. No apology, no denial. Only pressure. Dressed as vulnerability. I did not answer. In AP English. Mr. Harville returned our writing diagnostics. Mine had a note at the bottom. Your structure is unusually consistent. Keep all drafts. Patterns matter. I stared at the sentence. Patterns matter. Chloe had copied my answers, but she had not copied the years that made them. She could imitate a paragraph. She could borrow a thesis rhythm. She could memorize my transition habits and mirror my sentence shapes. But she could not explain the ugly first drafts. She could not produce the margin notes, the deleted versions, the midnight comments I left myself in frustration. She had taken the visible thing and forgotten the roots. At lunch, Daniel sat across from me without asking. He slid a cafeteria apple onto my tray. You looked like you were going to stab that pudding, he said. I was considering it. Harville told us you might join the Citywide prep group. You have a prep group, 3 people. 1 broken coffee machine, and old exams from 2015. Try not to be overwhelmed by the luxury. I almost laughed. For real. I'm not here to make friends, I said. Great, neither are we. We're here because Northbridge hasn't ranked top 10 in Citywide since my older sister had braces. We could use someone terrifying. That was the first time anyone at Northbridge looked at my reputation and saw a tool instead of a stain, so I joined them every afternoon. We met in the old gym lobby because the library closed early on budget days. Daniel was good at math under pressure. Priya had a memory like a locked cabinet. Marcus was brilliant in science and terrible at organizing his notes, which made me want to confiscate his backpack. We traded skills. I made schedules. They gave me Northbridge gossip, cafeteria warnings, and the names of teachers who wrote recommendations on time. Slowly, the rumor changed shape. At first, people said, that's the Westbridge cheater. Then they said, that's the girl from Westbridge. Then after I solved a chemistry problem on the board faster than Mr. Lowry could finish uncapping the marker. Someone whispered, "Maybe Westbridge is stupid. I did not need them to love me. I needed the room to stop closing around my throat." On Sunday night, the Citywide academic office replied, "Ms. Collins, due to the unresolved complaint submitted by Westbridge High, your eligibility will require a preliminary integrity review. Please submit all relevant process materials by Friday. You may also be asked to complete a supervised validation assessment." I read the email twice, then I opened Westbridge file and began attaching documents. At 10:06 p.m., Ryan called. I let it go to voicemail. His voice arrived 30 seconds later. "Avery, Chloe's dad knows you contacted the committee. This is going too far. Whatever you think Chloe did, she doesn't deserve to have her life destroyed. Call me back." I saved the voicemail, then I wrote one sentence in my notebook. "They keep calling consequences destruction because they expected me to be the one destroyed." Ryan came to Northbridge again on Monday, but this time he did not wait by his car. He came inside. I found him in the front office talking to Mrs. Patel, the attendance secretary, with his Westbridge charm turned up bright enough to burn. He wore his student council blazer and the blue tie he used for scholarship interviews. The image was intentional. He wanted to look official in a school where he had no authority. "I'm here to see Avery Collins," he said when he saw me. "It's personal." Mrs. Patel looked at me over her glasses. "Is this person welcome?" The question was so simple it almost knocked the air from me. At Westbridge, adults had assumed Ryan belonged wherever he stood. Here, a secretary with a mug that said "I read your emails" asked whether his presence was wanted. "No," I said. Ryan blinked. Mrs. Patel picked up the phone. "Then he can wait outside or leave campus." His face darkened. "Avery, don't be dramatic. You're trespassing in my new school to tell me I'm dramatic. I came because you won't answer." That was the answer. Mrs. Patel stood. She was 5'2" and somehow made the room feel guarded. "Young man, outside." Ryan looked from her to me. For 1 second, anger showed through the polish. "Fine," he said. "I'll be at the coffee shop across the street. 10 minutes. If you care about what happens next, you'll come." He left before anyone could make him. I went to class for 50 minutes. I annotated an essay about public reputation and private truth while my phone burned in my backpack. At the bell, I checked it. For messages. "This affects more than you. Chloe is barely holding it together. Her father is considering legal options. I never wanted to hurt you." The last one was the worst. It asked me to comfort him for the damage he was still causing. I went to the coffee shop after school, not because he summoned me, but because I wanted one more record of what he thought he could say when no principal was watching. He had chosen a table in the corner. Chloe was there. She sat with both hands wrapped around a paper cup, pale pink sweater sleeves pulled over her knuckles. Her eyes widened when she saw me, as if I had walked into her home uninvited instead of the meeting Ryan demanded. "I thought it would be better if we all talked," Ryan said. I stayed standing. "Then talk." Chloe's lower lip trembled. "Avery, I know you think I wanted this. I didn't. Did you borrow my blue notebook?" Her eyes flickered to Ryan. "That's not fair," he said. "People borrow notes all the time. Did you have access to my essay drafts?" Chloe looked down. "You shared things with me because we were friends." "We were not friends. I was useful," Ryan snapped. "Stop twisting everything." A woman at the next table glanced over. I lowered my voice, not to protect them, but to keep my own control. "You asked me to come. Here I am. Say what you need." Ryan leaned forward. "Chloe's father is willing to resolve this privately. If you withdraw the complaint materials and tell the committee the similarity came from shared study resources, Westbridge won't pursue the academic misconduct report." Westbridge hasn't proved misconduct. They don't have to prove it to make admissions officers nervous. Chloe began crying softly. No tears reached her chin. I noticed because I had spent too much time being ashamed of how loudly I cried in bathroom stalls. Chloe's sadness was always presentable. "My dad will take away everything," she whispered. "My car, my card, my summer program. Stanford will reconsider me. Please." It was one mistake. I placed my phone on the table, face down, recording. "What was the mistake?" I asked. Ryan's eyes sharpened. He understood too late. Chloe wiped under one eye. "Trusting you. It was almost impressive." "No," I said. "Try again. Was the mistake borrowing my work, copying my answer structure, letting Ryan pressure me to confess? Ryan stood halfway. This is why no one can talk to you. You came here to trap us. You came here to bargain with my future, because you are forcing our hand. Your hand was on the confession before mine ever touched the pen. The woman at the next table stopped pretending to read. Chloe's face changed. The softness vanished. You think winning one committee review will make you special. You're a transfer with a scandal attached. I am Chloe Whitman. People know my family. There she was, not fragile, not desperate, just certain the world would bend. Ryan closed his eyes briefly. Chloe, I picked up my phone. Chloe saw the movement. Were you recording? Northbridge is a public place, I said, and I learned from Westbridge that conversations can disappear unless someone keeps them. Ryan reached for my wrist. I stepped back before he touched me. Don't, I said. He froze. It was the first time I had ever used that tone with him. Not hurt, not pleading, a boundary with teeth. I left them in the coffee shop, through the window. I saw Chloe speaking fast, Ryan sitting down slowly, both of them realizing that the girl they had chosen as the easiest sacrifice had started documenting the altar outside. My phone rang. Mom, you okay? She asked. Yes, that's not what I asked. I leaned against the brick wall beside the coffee shop. For a second, I let my forehead rest against the cold surface. He chose her again. I said. Mom was quiet. He sat beside her again. I continued. He watched her lie again. And he still looked at me like I was the one being unreasonable. Are you surprised? That hurt, but not because it was cruel, because it was honest. No, I said, I think I'm just done pretending. The second time teaches me something different from the first. At home, I uploaded the coffee shop recording. The audio was clean. Chloe's sentence rang out with almost theatrical clarity. I am Chloe Whitman. People know my family. I sent it to the Citywide academic office with a short note, supplemental material relevant to pressure and motive. No adjectives. No rage, just the sentence and the file. The next day, Westbridge released a carefully worded notice to senior families. An academic integrity concern involving a former student remains under review. We ask the community to avoid speculation and trust institutional processes. Former student. I read it in the Northbridge gym lobby while Daniel solved equations beside me. They really said former like you're a haunted Victorian wife, he said. Priya looked up from her flashcards. Institutional processes means they hope everyone gets bored before the truth comes out. Marcus nodded. Classic. I should have felt humiliated. Instead, I felt the strange warmth of being surrounded by people who did not need a 2-hour explanation to recognize rot. We need to beat them, Daniel said, in Citywide, in everything, but Citywide first. I looked at the old exam spread across the table. The paper was yellowed, the margins were full of my notes. My life had become accusations, meetings, threats, and recordings, but here was still the work, clean, difficult, indifferent to gossip. Then stop talking, I said. Timer starts now. They groaned. They obeyed. At 8:19 that night, the Citywide office sent another email. Your preliminary materials have been received. A supervised validation assessment is scheduled for next Wednesday at 9:00 a.m. Attendance is mandatory for continued eligibility. I read the email 3 times. Then I opened Ryan's contact and changed his name from Ryan to Westbridge. Evidence. It looked ugly. It looked accurate. The week before the validation assessment, Northbridge became my whole world, not the school building itself, with its cold hallways and flickering lights, but the routine I built inside it. I arrived at 7. I reviewed vocabulary in the stairwell because the library did not open until 7:30. I took classes. I ate lunch with Daniel, Priya, and Marcus, though 8 was generous. Because most days I mostly moved food around while arguing about practice questions. After school, we worked in the old gym lobby until the janitor kicked us out. Then I went home, ate whatever Mom left in the fridge, and studied until my eyes blurred. There was comfort in repetition. Repetition did not ask whether Ryan had loved me. Repetition did not care what Chloe posted. Repetition took panic and gave it a task at Westbridge. Chloe returned to school to flowers taped to her locker. Mia sent me a photo with no caption. Pink roses, silver ribbon. A note that said stronger than rumors. I stared at it for a long time, then I saved the image, not because flowers proved anything, but because narrative did. Westbridge had decided Chloe was surviving a rumor. I was surviving an institution. Ryan stopped texting for 2 days. On the third, he sent a voice message. I hope you're proud. Chloe had to leave calculus today because people are whispering about the committee review. Is that what you wanted? For her to be humiliated the way you think you were humiliated? This isn't justice, Avery, it's revenge. I played it once. Daniel, sitting across from me, looked up. That your ex, my evidence, healthy, accurate. He held up both hands. I support women's wrongs, but mostly women's documentation. I almost smiled. Ms. Shaw checked on me Friday afternoon. She found me in the lobby with 4 colored pens, 2 empty coffee cups, and a stack of practice essays. You need sleep, she said, after Wednesday, before Wednesday. Exhaustion makes innocent students look inconsistent. That got my attention. She sat across from me. I spoke with the Citywide office. The validation won't be a punishment, it will be designed to compare your process to your submitted work. You'll likely write under supervision, solve problems aloud, and explain prior drafts. Can Westbridge attend? A representative can observe parts of the review. So can I, if you want. I swallowed. Will Chloe be there? Possibly for her own interview, not in the room during yours. My pen hovered above the page. Avery, Ms. Shaw said, the purpose is not to perform innocence like a school play, it is to show process. If you don't remember something, say that. If a draft was messy, let it be messy. Students who fake work often overclean it. Real work has bruises. Real work has bruises. That sentence stayed with me. On Monday, I gave my first explanation in front of Northbridge's prep group. Ms. Shaw had arranged for Mr. Harville and Mr. Lowry to act as mock reviewers. They asked questions designed to unsettle me. Why did your introduction style shift between draft 2 and draft 3? Because Ms. Carter's comment said I was announcing the point instead of leading the reader to it. I tried a scene-based opening in draft 3. Why is Chloe Whitman's final structure similar to yours? Because she saw my outline in November and borrowed my notebook in December. I can't prove what she copied inside the room, but I can prove access and prior authorship. Why didn't you report the borrowed materials earlier? That one caught in my throat. Because I thought helping her was harmless, I said. Because she said she was overwhelmed. Because my boyfriend told me she needed support. Because I confused being useful with being kind. No one spoke for a moment. Then Mr. Harville nodded. Keep that answer. It's honest. Wednesday came cold and bright. Mom drove me to the Citywide academic office, a low building beside the public library. She had traded shifts with another nurse and looked like she might collapse, but when I asked if she wanted coffee, she said, I want to see my daughter walk into that building with her head up. Coffee can wait. Inside, the waiting room smelled like paper and disinfectant. Students from different schools sat with parents and counselors. Some looked nervous, some looked bored. Then I saw Ryan. He stood near the elevator with Principal Whitaker and Chloe's father, Leonard Whitman. Chloe sat beside them, wearing a white sweater and no makeup except the kind meant to look like no makeup. She looked smaller than usual. Ryan saw me. His eyes moved to my mother, then to the folder in my arms. He took one step forward. Mom moved slightly in front of me. It was not dramatic. It was not loud. It was simply a mother making herself a wall. A committee staffer called my name before Ryan could speak. The validation room had 1 table, 2 cameras, 3 reviewers, and a stack of sealed packets. Ms. Shaw sat in the back as my school representative. Ms. Carter was there too, admitted as a prior instructor. Seeing her face made my chest ache. Ms. Collins, the lead reviewer, said, this assessment is being recorded. You will complete a writing task, a quantitative reasoning section, and a process interview. You may ask procedural questions, but no substantive assistance will be provided. Do you understand? Yes. They gave me the first prompt. My hand trembled once before I wrote. I let it. Real work had bruises. The essay prompt asked about public trust and institutional failure. For one wild second, I thought someone had chosen it to mock me. Then the training took over. Claim, tension, example, counterpoint, return, I built the essay like a bridge under pressure. Afterward, they asked me why I structured it that way. I explained. They asked what I would revise with another hour. I told them the second body paragraph leaned too abstract and the conclusion needed a sharper return to the opening frame. One reviewer smiled faintly. Most students defend the paragraph they know is weak. Defending it would not make it stronger. The math section came next. I made one arithmetic slip, caught it in the final review, and corrected it while narrating my process. The cameras watched everything. For once, surveillance felt like protection. When it ended, the lead reviewer closed the folder. "Your process materials are extensive," she said. "We will compare them with Westbridge's submitted packet and Miss Whitman's materials. You will receive a preliminary eligibility decision within 5 business days. 5 business days, a whole life could hang inside that phrase. Outside the room, Ryan waited alone. "How did it go?" he asked. The tenderness in his voice was familiar enough to hurt and false enough to disgust me. "You don't get to ask me that anymore, Avery. I know you're angry, but when this is over, it is over." He flinched. "Not the review," I said. "Us. That ended the moment you decided my future was the easiest thing in the room to spend." Behind him, Chloe came out of another hallway. Her face was pale. Leonard Whitman spoke sharply to Principal Whitaker beside her. For the first time, no one was comforting anyone. Ryan looked back at them, then at me, and I saw it. Not regret, calculation. A boy realizing the side he chose might lose. That hurt more than his betrayal, because it meant even his remorse would arrive as self-preservation. I walked past him to my mother. Mom took my folder from me like it was something sacred. "Well?" she asked. I showed process. "Then we eat. It's 10:40 in the morning. Then we eat breakfast like criminals." I laughed in the parking lot of the Citywide office, and the sound startled me. For the first time, it did not feel like I was running from Westbridge. It felt like I had outgrown the room where they tried to keep me small. The eligibility decision arrived on a Tuesday afternoon during chemistry. My phone buzzed inside my backpack. I ignored it until the lab ended because discipline had been keeping me alive longer than panic had. When class dismissed, I stood in the hallway, opened the email, and read the first sentence 3 times. "MS. Collins, following preliminary review, you remain eligible to compete in the Citywide final examination." For a second, the hallway tilted. Eligible was not cleared. Eligible was not vindicated. It did not punish Chloe or expose Ryan or make Westbridge apologize, but it meant they had failed to close the door. I leaned against the lockers and breathed. "Daniel found me there. You look like you either got excellent news or saw a ghost." I handed him the phone. He read it, then whooped so loudly Mrs. Patel yelled from the office, indoor voice. "Daniel, she stays eligible," he yelled back. "Then use your eligible indoor voice." By lunch, Northbridge knew. Not the whole story. Enough. The rumor shifted again. Now I was not only the Westbridge transfer, I was the girl Westbridge had tried to disqualify who was still in the race at Westbridge. The reaction was different. Mia sent me screenshots from the senior chat. "Serena, how is she still eligible?" Unknown. Maybe because she didn't cheat, Serena, or because Northbridge is desperate for a ranking. "Ryan, stop speculating. Let the process finish." That last line made me laugh without humor. Ryan loved process when it no longer obeyed him. The Citywide final was scheduled for the following Saturday. All eligible candidates would sit in a controlled testing center at the community college. Schools could not proctor their own students. Phones banned. Random seating. Identity verification. Cameras. Independent graders. It was everything Westbridge had pretended to fear and everything I needed. For 10 days, I became ruthless with myself. Not cruel, ruthless. There was a difference. Cruelty said I had to win to deserve dignity. Ruthlessness said I already had dignity, and now I would not let anyone steal the work attached to it. I slept 7 hours because Ms. Shaw threatened to remove my coffee privileges if I didn't. I ate breakfast. I reviewed with the prep group, then stopped at 9 every night. I walked around the apartment complex when anxiety made my fingers numb. Mom quizzed me on vocabulary while folding laundry. Sometimes she mispronounced the words so badly we both ended up laughing. On Thursday, Ms. Carter called. I had not heard her voice since the validation assessment. "Avery," she said. I have been asked to provide a written statement regarding your writing development. I wanted you to know before I submit it. What will it say?" She was quiet for a moment. "That your work shows a consistent developmental record across 2 years, that your drafts, revisions, and in-class writing support independent authorship, that I cannot speak to what happened inside another student's exam booklet, but I can state that the work attributed to you is consistent with your process." My throat tightened. "Thank you, I should have said more in the first meeting." I looked at the practice exam on my desk. "Yes," she took that without defending herself. "You're right, I was afraid of saying too much before I had documents, but fear sounds very similar to silence when a student is alone in a room. I am sorry." That apology did something Ryan's messages had not. It named the harm without asking me to erase it. "I appreciate the statement," I said. "Win Saturday," she said, then hung up before the sentence could become sentimental. Saturday morning. Mom drove me to the community college before sunrise. The sky was gray. Students lined the sidewalk with clear plastic bags and sharpened pencils. Westbridge's group stood near the entrance in matching navy jackets. Northbridge had no jackets. Daniel wore a hoodie with a stain on the sleeve. Priya had 3 granola bars and a glare sharp enough to cut glass. Marcus forgot his calculator and nearly passed out until I handed him my spare. "You brought a spare," he said. "I brought 2. Marry organization." Daniel told him, "It is the only reliable life partner." Then I saw Ryan. He stood beside Chloe near the Westbridge banner. Principal Whitaker was with them. Leonard Whitman spoke on the phone. A few feet away, his mouth tight. Chloe looked at me, then looked away first. Ryan did not. He crossed the sidewalk before anyone stopped him. "Avery," Daniel muttered. "Want me to cough aggressively?" "No." Ryan stopped 2 feet from me. "Good luck." The words were harmless. His face was not. "Thank you," I said. "I mean it. That does not change anything." His jaw flexed. "Does everything have to be punishment with you now?" "No, some things are boundaries. They only feel like punishment to people who benefited from there being none." The testing center doors opened before he could answer. Inside, they checked our IDs, assigned seats, and sealed our phones in numbered envelopes. I sat in row C, seat 14. Chloe sat in row G, seat 3, far enough that she could not see my paper, close enough that I could hear her pencil tapping before the exam began. The first section was writing. The prompt asked whether ambition becomes dangerous when institutions reward image over integrity. I almost smiled. Then I wrote not about Westbridge, not directly. I wrote about systems that confuse polish with proof, vulnerability with honesty, and compliance with character. I wrote fast, but not frantic. When my thoughts accelerated, I slowed my hand. When anger offered a dramatic sentence, I asked if the argument needed it. Most times, it did not. The math section was harder. One problem on probability tried to lead me into a trap. I nearly followed. Then I saw the condition buried in the second clause and corrected course. The science reasoning section felt clean. The final short responses left my wrist aching. When time was called, I put my pencil down before the proctor repeated the instruction across the room. Chloe was still writing, pencils down. The proctor said. Her hand moved. "Miss Whitman," the proctor said sharply. Chloe froze. Every head turned. The proctor walked to her desk and removed the exam booklet. It was a small thing, not proof of grand evil, not justice in a thunderclap, just a student unable to stop reaching for extra seconds. After the room had been told no, but I saw Ryan watching from the observation window, and I saw his face change for the first time. He looked afraid of what he had protected. We were released into the lobby after 4 hours. My legs felt hollow. Daniel collapsed dramatically onto a bench. Priya ate 2 granola bars in silence. Marcus whispered, "I think I saw God in section 3 and God hates physics." I laughed. Then Ryan approached. Chloe was not with him. "Can we talk?" he asked. "No, I think." He stopped, swallowed. "I think Chloe may not have been honest with me about everything." That sentence should have felt satisfying. Instead, it felt late. "She was honest enough," I said. "You just liked what her version let you do." I was trying to help. "You were trying to be needed by the girl with more social power and less accountability." His face reddened. "That's not fair." Fair, Ryan, you stood in front of an office and asked me to damage my academic record so Chloe could keep a scholarship. Do not bring me fair like it's a word you still know how to use. People were watching. I did not lower my voice this time. He looked around, humiliated. Good, I thought, and did not feel guilty. Mom arrived 10 minutes later with coffee and a breakfast sandwich I was too nervous to eat. On the ride home, I stared out the window while the city moved around us. How did it go? She asked. I thought about the prompt, the trap question, Chloe's pencil moving after time, Ryan's sudden uncertainty. Clean, I said. Mom nodded. Clean is enough. 5 days later, the committee notified all finalists that ranking results would be announced at Northbridge's auditorium, which had been selected as the public host site because Westbridge was now under procedural review. Principal Whitaker objected. The committee denied the objection when Ms. Shaw told me. Daniel threw both hands in the air. Westbridge has to come here, to our haunted gym, auditorium. Priya corrected, our haunted auditorium. I smiled, but my stomach tightened. The final ranking would not only decide scholarships, it would decide which story the city believed. On Friday night, Ryan sent one last message before results. No matter what happens tomorrow, I hope you remember that I loved you. I stared at it for a long time. Then I typed back for the first time in weeks. No, you loved being good in my eyes. I blocked him before he could answer. The ranking announcement was supposed to happen before the scholarship hearing. That was the original plan. Scores first, investigation later, clean order, clean stages. Westbridge ruined that too. On the morning of the announcement, Leonard Whitman filed an emergency objection claiming I had submitted selectively edited materials to prejudice the committee against his daughter. By noon, the Citywide office postponed public rankings by 48 hours and scheduled an interim scholarship hearing in Northbridge's auditorium. When Ms. Shaw told me, I thought my knees would give out. They can still delay it. They can try, she said, but the committee granted the hearing on narrow terms, evidence process, pressure, eligibility, not a popularity contest. Westbridge will make it one. Then don't play their game. Bring documents, bring facts, let them bring theater. The hearing took place that afternoon because Leonard Whitman had demanded urgency and the committee had returned it to him like a knife by inviting everyone relevant on short notice. Westbridge arrived in navy blazers. Principal Whitaker, Mr. Moreno, Chloe, Ryan, Leonard Whitman, Serena, and 2 other students as character witnesses. Though no one called them that, Northbridge arrived like a mismatched toolbox. Ms. Shaw with a binder, Mr. Harville with my diagnostic essays, Daniel, Priya, and Marcus sitting in the back even though they had no official role. Mom in her cleanest coat, hands folded in her lap. Mia came in last. She did not look at Chloe. She sat 2 rows behind me and held her phone like it weighed 10 pounds. The committee chair, Dr. Elaine Porter, opened the hearing with a voice that made whispering feel illegal. This is not a trial, she said. It is an academic eligibility and scholarship review. We will consider documentary evidence, process records, and relevant testimony. We will not consider social media, personal insults, or speculation. Serena looked disappointed. Principal Whitaker spoke first. He used words like unfortunate, ambiguous, and shared resources. He said Westbridge had acted with caution. He said I had become adversarial before the school could complete its internal process. Dr. Porter interrupted. Principal Whitaker, did your office present Ms. Collins with a written statement acknowledging misconduct before completing the review? He smiled carefully. We presented a possible resolution document. Was her name printed on it, as a draft? Did it contain language admitting an academic lapse? It contained restorative language. Answer plainly. His smile died. Yes. The room shifted. I did not look at Ryan. Mr. Moreno claimed I had refused cooperation. Ms. Shaw stood and handed the committee a timeline of my document requests, unanswered emails, and submitted materials. It was beautiful in the way a sharpened blade is beautiful. Ms. Collins requested the seating chart, proctor notes, exam comparison criteria, and chain of custody within 24 hours. Ms. Shaw said, Westbridge provided none before characterizing her as uncooperative. Dr. Porter. Made a note. Then Chloe spoke. She was softer than I had ever heard her. I never wanted Avery punished. I was scared. We studied together. We shared materials. Maybe our answers became similar because we both worked hard from the same resources. I just want my scholarship review to be fair. It was a clever statement, not a confession, not an accusation, just enough fog to hide in. Ryan looked relieved. Then Dr. Porter turned to me. Ms. Collins, your response. I stood with my folder. My legs felt weak, but my voice did not. Chloe and I did not study together equally. She borrowed my notes, my outlines, and my essay samples. I have dated messages showing when she requested them, draft timestamps showing my prior authorship, and a photograph from December showing her holding the blue notebook that contained my Citywide prep structure. I submitted copies. The committee aide distributed them. Chloe's father leaned toward his attorney, whispering sharply. I continued, I also have evidence that I was pressured to accept responsibility before a completed review. Ryan's head snapped up. I took out my phone. The audio file had been copied to a USB drive, emailed to the committee, and backed up twice. Still, touching play felt like stepping off a ledge. Dr. Porter nodded to the technician. The auditorium speakers crackled. Ryan's voice filled the room. Say you cheated so she keeps her scholarship. No one moved. The recording continued. My voice, his, the scrape of the pen, my request for documents, his warning not to make it ugly. Chloe stared at the floor. Ryan stared at me. I did not look away. When the audio ended, Dr. Porter asked, Mr. Hale, is that your voice? Ryan stood too quickly. Yes, but that was taken out of context. I was upset. Chloe was in a terrible state. I didn't mean Avery should literally confess to cheating. A murmur moved through the room. I almost laughed. Literally. As if those words were metaphor, as if my signature would have been symbolic ink on a symbolic record in a symbolic future. Dr. Porter did not blink. Then what did you mean? Ryan opened his mouth, closed it. Leonard Whitman cut in. My daughter is being victimized by a private relationship dispute. This boy's emotional language has no bearing on Chloe's academic performance. It has bearing on pressure. Dr. Porter said, sit down. The command landed like a gavel. Then Mia stood. My heart stopped. I have something, she said, voice shaking. Chloe turned slowly. Mia looked terrified. She also looked done being terrified. I recorded Chloe and Serena in the bathroom after the first meeting. I know recording people is, I know it's messy, but I heard them talking about Avery taking the fall. I sent it to Avery later. I can submit the original from my phone, Serena whispered. Mia, what the hell? Mia flinched, but she walked to the front. The second recording played. Chloe's voice was muffled, but clear. If Avery takes the fall, everything goes back to normal. Serena. Ryan will handle her. Chloe, he better. I can't lose the Whitman scholarship over one stupid exam. This time the room did not merely shift, it broke open. Parents whispered. A committee aide asked for order. Principal Whitaker rubbed his forehead. Ms. Carter closed her eyes. Chloe stood. I was upset. I didn't mean, sit, her father hissed. She sat. Dr. Porter asked for the original audio. Mia submitted her phone. Her hands shook so badly the aide took it gently with both hands. The hearing continued for another hour. Ms. Carter testified that my writing development was consistent and documented. Mr. Harville confirmed my Northbridge diagnostic and live process explanation. Westbridge tried to argue that shared materials blurred ownership. Dr. Porter asked whether shared materials explained why Chloe lacked prior drafts for the copied structure. No one answered well. At the end, Dr. Porter announced the interim decision. Ms. Collins remains eligible for citywide ranking and scholarship consideration. Miss Whitman's scholarship eligibility is suspended pending final comparison review. Westbridge High's internal handling will be referred to the District Academic Oversight Office. Public ranking results will proceed Monday. 3 seconds. There was silence. Then Daniel started clapping. Priya elbowed him, but someone else joined. Then another, not thunderous, not movie perfect. Enough. I sat down because my legs finally betrayed me. Ryan approached after the committee adjourned. Mom stepped between us again. Mrs. Collins, he said, voice strained. I need to speak to Avery. Mom looked at him as if he were a chart with an obvious diagnosis. You needed to speak when it mattered, she said. You used that time poorly. He looked past her to me. Avery, please, I didn't know she said that. I stood. You knew what you said. He swallowed. That was enough. Mia waited near the exit. When I reached her, she burst into tears. I'm sorry, she said. I'm so sorry I waited. I was too tired to offer absolution like a party favor. Thank you for standing up today, I said. She nodded, crying harder because she understood the difference outside. Northbridge's parking lot glowed under late afternoon sun. Reporters were not there yet. No cameras, no public headline, just my mother, my new teachers, 3 exhausted students, and a sky that looked almost ordinary. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Avery, this is Leonard Whitman. We should discuss a private resolution before Monday's ranking causes unnecessary damage. I showed Mom. She read it and handed the phone back. Save it, she said. I did. Monday morning, Northbridge's auditorium smelled like floor polish and nerves. The Citywide committee had transformed the stage with a projector screen, a row of flags, and a table of sealed envelopes. Students from 15 schools filled the seats. Westbridge occupied the left section in navy. Northbridge took the right in whatever everyone owned that was clean. I sat in the front row between Daniel and Priya. Marcus sat behind us muttering formulas under his breath even though the exams were over. If you keep doing that, Priya said, I will remove your tongue with a mechanical pencil. Reasonable, Marcus whispered. I smiled because if I did not, I might be sick. The ranking would determine scholarship tiers, city honors, and the academic report sent to colleges. It would also answer the question Westbridge had built around me. Was I the girl who ran because she cheated, or the girl who left because the room was rigged? Ryan sat 2 rows behind Chloe, not beside her. I noticed before I could stop myself. Chloe looked pale and furious. Her father sat rigidly next to her, one hand clenched on the program. Principal Whitaker avoided looking toward Northbridge. Mr. Moreno was absent. Mom sat behind me. When I turned, she gave me a thumbs up so awkward and earnest that I almost cried. Dr. Porter took the podium at 9 sharp. She began with a statement about academic integrity, independent review, and the importance of transparent process. She did not name Westbridge. She did not need to. Everyone knew why half the room was holding its breath. Then they announced honorable mentions. Northbridge got 2. Daniel clapped like they had won a national championship. Westbridge got several. Their section applauded too loudly, trying to prove something. Then top 20. Marcus placed 18th. He froze. Priya hit his shoulder. Stand up, idiot. He stood, dazed, while Northbridge cheered. Top 10. Priya placed 7th. She closed her eyes once, like she was saving the moment in a private place, then walked to the stage with her chin high. Top 5. Daniel placed 4th. He yelled, no way, then covered his mouth while everyone laughed. Even Dr. Porter smiled. My name had not been called. That could mean 2 things. Either I had placed lower than expected and missed the stage entirely, or I stopped the thought. Hope was dangerous when it leaned too far over the edge. 3rd place went to a student from Camden Prep. 2nd place went to Eric Lee from Westbridge. Their section erupted. Eric looked stunned and delighted. I clapped because he had always been kind to me in calculus and because another student's success was not my enemy. Then Dr. Porter looked down at the final envelope. This year's first-place Citywide scholar, receiving the full Esther Lang Academic Scholarship and the committee's highest distinction, is Avery Collins of Northbridge High. For 1 second, there was no sound, not because no one clapped, because my mind stopped translating words into meaning. Then Northbridge exploded. Daniel was on his feet. Priya shouted my name from the stage. Marcus nearly fell into the row in front of him. Mom made a sound I had never heard from her, half sob and half laugh. I stood slowly. The walk to the stage felt longer than every hallway I had survived at Westbridge. I passed Chloe's row. I did not look down. I passed Ryan's row. I felt him rise halfway, then sit again. Dr. Porter shook my hand. Congratulations, Ms. Collins, she said quietly. Your work spoke clearly. I held the certificate. My name, Northbridge High, rank 1 Citywide. The projector displayed the score breakdown. Writing, highest in cohort. Quantitative reasoning, top 1%. Science analysis, top 3. Validation assessment. Consistent with final score. Consistent. That word did what applause could not. It answered the accusation in the language institutions understood when I turned toward the audience for the official photo. The Westbridge section looked like a painting of a storm about to break. Chloe's face had gone white. Leonard Whitman leaned toward Principal Whitaker, speaking through his teeth. Ryan stared at the floor. The photographer counted down. I smiled, not because I was happy exactly. Happiness came later, maybe. What I felt first was release, a lock opening, a hand removed from my throat. After the ceremony, reporters from the local paper gathered near the stage. The committee had clearly expected attention after the hearing. Dr. Porter answered procedural questions. Ms. Shaw kept one hand near my shoulder without touching me, giving me room to decide. A reporter asked, Avery, how does it feel to win after transferring schools during an integrity review? The room quieted again. Ryan looked up. Chloe looked at me for the first time all morning. I stepped to the microphone. It feels, I said, choosing each word, like process matters. It feels like students should not be asked to trade truth for someone else's comfort. And it feels like every draft, every mistake, every hour of real work was worth keeping. A flash went off. The reporter tried again. Do you believe Westbridge owes you an apology? Principal Whitaker stiffened across the room. Yes, I said. No explanation. No softening. No grateful victim performance. Yes, that clip reached Westbridge's parent chat before we left the auditorium. By afternoon, the local paper posted the headline, Transfer Student under review wins Citywide academic scholarship. Questions raised about Westbridge handling. They did not know the half of it, but the half was enough. Messages flooded my phone. Students who had ignored me, students who had whispered, students who had posted vague quotes about karma when Chloe cried. Now they sent congratulations, apologies, heart emojis, and careful attempts to stand close to the truth after it became safe. I answered almost none of them. Mia sent one message, you deserved that. Room, I replied. Thank you. Ryan did not text because he was blocked. He emailed Avery, I know I am the last person you want to hear from. I watched you today and realized I don't think I ever understood what your work meant to you. I thought I was asking you to take blame for one incident. I see now that I was asking you to surrender years of yourself. I am sorry. I need to say that in person, Ryan. I read it once and closed the laptop. Need, again. His need at 4. Principal Whitaker called Mom. She put him on speaker. Mrs. Collins, he said, voice strained but smooth. First, let me congratulate Avery on an extraordinary achievement. Westbridge is proud to have been part of her academic journey. Mom's eyes narrowed. I took the phone. Westbridge accused me of cheating, pressured me to sign a confession, and called me a former student in a misconduct notice. You don't get to be proud of the journey after trying to derail it. Silence. Then, Avery, I understand emotions are high. The board would like to invite you to a private meeting to discuss a restorative statement and potentially recognize your achievement at our senior assembly. No private meeting. I beg your pardon. If Westbridge wants to correct the record, it can do so publicly, in writing, and with the committee present. I will not attend a room where you control the minutes and call it healing. Mom smiled slowly. Principal Whitaker's voice cooled. That may not be the most constructive approach. It is the only one I am interested in. I hung up. My hands shook afterward, not from fear, from the shock of hearing myself refuse an adult who had once held my college future in his drawer. That evening, Northbridge held an informal celebration in the gym lobby, store-brand cupcakes, a paper banner. Daniel insisted on calling me the ghost of Westbridge until Priya threatened him again. Marcus gave a speech that was mostly about probability and friendship and made no sense but made everyone clap. Ms. Shaw waited until the others were eating before handing me a sealed envelope. This came through the committee, she said. Inside was the official scholarship letter. Full award, renewable, transferable to any accredited university. I pressed the paper flat with both hands. For years, money had been the monster under every dream. Application fees, tuition, housing, books. The scholarship did not solve every problem, but it changed the shape of the future. It made leaving possible in a way revenge alone never could. Mom read it and covered her mouth. I folded into her arms in the middle of the gym lobby. And this time I cried, not quietly, not prettily, not for Chloe's benefit or Ryan's guilt or Westbridge's narrative for myself. The next morning, Westbridge announced a public clarification assembly, attendance optional, committee representative present. Avery Collins invited. Ms. Shaw read the email and looked at me. You don't have to go. I thought of the hallway, the confession, Chloe's roses, Ryan's voice through auditorium speakers, my name on the Citywide screen. No, I said, that's why I will. Westbridge looked smaller when I returned. The glass wings still shone, the donor plaques still lined the hall, the trophy case still displayed polished names under polished lights. But the building no longer felt like a gate to my future, it felt like a stage set after the actors forgot their lines. Mom parked near the front entrance. Ms. Shaw came with us as Northbridge's representative. Dr. Porter sent an aide from the committee, a quiet man named Mr. Grant, who carried one folder and made Principal Whitaker look nervous without speaking. Students gathered in the auditorium, seniors in the front, juniors behind them, teachers along the walls, parents in the back. The same room where I had once received a Junior Excellence Award while Ryan clapped loudest and Chloe hugged me afterward, whispering, "You're so lucky school comes easy to you." Easy, the word almost made me laugh now. Principal Whitaker met us near the stage. "Avery," he said, reaching for warmth, "thank you for coming back. We hope today can be a step toward closure." "Clarity," I said. He paused. "Excuse me. Closure is what people ask for when they want the injured person to stop talking. I came for clarity." Ms. Shaw looked at the floor. I suspected she was hiding a smile. The assembly began with Principal Whitaker at the podium. He thanked the community for its patience. He congratulated Citywide participants. He said mistakes were made in communication. He said emotions had run high. He said Westbridge remained committed to integrity. He did not say my name until the 4th minute. "We also acknowledge," he said, "that Avery Collins, now of Northbridge High, has achieved the extraordinary distinction of first-place Citywide scholar. We regret any distress she experienced during a difficult review process." Regret any distress. It was the language of a person apologizing for rain at a picnic. Mr. Grant stood. The auditorium quieted. "Principal Whitaker," he said, "the committee's attendance today was conditioned on the public correction of specific inaccuracies. Please read the prepared findings in full." Principal Whitaker's hand tightened around the podium. For 1 second, I saw the battle in his face. Pride against survival, image against record. Record 1. He lifted a paper. The Citywide Academic Committee found no evidence that Avery Collins committed academic misconduct. He read, the committee found that Ms. Collins maintained extensive process records supporting independent authorship and consistent academic performance. The committee further found that Westbridge High presented Ms. Collins with a misconduct acknowledgement before completing appropriate review steps, and that this action did not align with best practices for student academic integrity procedures. The room was silent enough to hear the lights hum. He continued, voice flatter now. The committee found credible evidence that Ms. Collins was subject to improper peer pressure related to another student's scholarship eligibility. Miss Chloe Whitman's scholarship eligibility remains suspended pending final determination. Westbridge High will cooperate with district oversight regarding procedural failures. There it was, not everything, enough. A rustle moved through the students. Some turned to look at Chloe. She sat near the center aisle with Serena on one side and no Ryan on the other. Ryan sat 3 rows behind her, face pale. Principal Whitaker folded the paper. Avery has been invited to say a few words. I walked to the podium. It felt like crossing a battlefield after the smoke cleared. Here was the place where I had once given student council speeches beside Ryan. Here was the room where teachers told us character mattered. Here were the students who had watched me clean out my locker. I placed my hands on the podium so no one would see them shake. When I left Westbridge, I said, people called it running away. It wasn't. I left because staying would have meant accepting a story written by people who had already decided I was easier to sacrifice than the truth. No one coughed. No one whispered. I was asked to admit to cheating so another student could keep her scholarship. I was told I was strong enough to survive it. I want everyone in this room to understand something. Strength is not permission. Just because someone can survive harm does not give you the right to harm them. Chloe looked down, Ryan's face folded in on itself. I did not win Citywide because I wanted revenge, I said. I won because I kept working after people mistook my silence for guilt. I kept drafts, I kept records, I kept my own name when others tried to make it useful to them. I looked at Principal Whitaker. An apology that hides the action is not an apology. A correction that protects the institution more than the student is not integrity. Then I looked at the students. If you see something wrong, do not wait until the truth becomes safe. Safe truth is easy. Early truth costs something. Mia began crying in the fourth row. I did not regret saying it. I ended there. No forgiveness, no inspirational bow tied around the wound. The applause started slowly. Ms. Carter first, then a few teachers, then students. Not all. Enough. After the assembly, people approached in clusters. Eric Lee apologized for not questioning the rumor. A junior I barely knew said she had taken down a post. Mrs. Dean from the front office whispered, "I am sorry," with tears in her eyes. I accepted some apologies. I acknowledged others. I did not absolve anyone on demand. Chloe waited near the side door. For once, she had no audience. Serena had vanished. Her father was speaking angrily to Principal Whitaker near the stage. Ryan stood in the aisle, watching but not coming closer. "Avery," Chloe said. I stopped. She looked smaller, but now I understood smallness could be another costume. "I didn't think it would go that far," she said. "You said if I took the fall, everything would go back to normal." Her eyes filled. I was scared. "My dad, you don't know what it's like when I fail." "You're right, I don't." He built everything around me, getting that scholarship, the summer program, Stanford, the donor circle. Ryan kept telling me he could fix it. I thought you would be okay. "You always are." There it was again. Spoken by someone else. "You would be okay." "I was not okay," I said. She wiped her cheek. "I know that now." "No, you know you got caught. Those are different lessons." Her face hardened, just for a second. The real Chloe looked out, then the tears returned. "What do you want from me?" "Nothing. That's the point." I walked away before she could turn my refusal into cruelty. Ryan followed me into the hallway. "Avery, please." The hall where he had asked me to confess was brighter than I remembered. Maybe because I was no longer standing under the same shadow. I turned. He stopped 3 feet away. "I am sorry," he said, "not because of the committee, not because everyone knows. I am sorry because I heard myself on that recording and I didn't recognize who I was. I recognized you." He flinched. "That's not fair. You keep using that word." He ran a hand through his hair. "I loved you. I still do. You loved being trusted by me. You loved that I made you feel better than you were." "No, Ryan. When the room demanded a sacrifice, you looked for me. That was instinct, not an accident." His eyes turned wet. I had seen Ryan cry only once, when his grandfather died. Back then, I held him for an hour in his driveway while snow fell on my hair. The memory rose between us like a ghost asking for shelter. I let it stand there, then I stepped around it. "Can we talk somewhere private?" he asked. "No, private rooms are where you ask me to carry things you don't want witnesses to see." He lowered his head. "What happens now? You live with what you chose. So do I. The difference is, I choose myself now." Mom was waiting by the front doors. Ms. Shaw stood beside her, pretending not to have watched the entire exchange with professional satisfaction. As I reached them, my phone buzzed with an email from the committee. "Final determination regarding Whitman scholarship eligibility attached." I opened the attachment. Chloe's scholarship was revoked. Her university pre-admission office would be notified of the integrity review. Westbridge's procedural referral would proceed. I should have felt triumphant. Instead, I felt the quiet weight of cause and effect. Chloe had not lost everything because I exposed her. She lost what had been held up by lies. That distinction mattered outside. Reporters waited at the curb. Ms. Shaw asked, "Do you want to make a statement?" I looked back at Westbridge once, at the doors, at the hall, at the place that had mistaken my future for a bargaining chip. "No," I said, "they have enough of my words." Then I got into my mother's car and left. Consequences did not arrive like lightning. They arrived like paperwork a week after the assembly. Westbridge removed Ryan from the student leadership honors list. The announcement used careful language, conduct inconsistent with the expectations of representative office. It did not say he pressured his girlfriend to confess to cheating. It did not say he protected Chloe because her family opened doors he wanted to walk through. But everyone knew his name disappeared from the graduation program draft. Mia sent me a photo of the revised page. I stared at the blank space where Ryan Hale, student council president, had been printed in earlier versions. A year ago, I would have felt his humiliation as my own. I would have wanted to soften it, explain him, remind people he was not all bad. Now I looked at the blank space and thought, that is what accountability looks like when it wears a school font. Chloe's consequences were messier. Her scholarship was officially revoked. Her early admission did not immediately vanish, but it entered review. Leonard Whitman threatened appeals. He threatened lawsuits. He threatened donors. The committee did not change its finding. Westbridge's oversight investigation expanded when 2 former students came forward about pressured disciplinary statements in unrelated cases. Principal Whitaker took a temporary leave that everyone understood was not temporary. Mr. Moreno stopped appearing in email chains. People expected me to celebrate. I did not. Celebration takes energy. Survival had eaten most of mine. I focused on finishing. Senior year at Northbridge, the first-place scholarship brought attention, which Northbridge handled with chaotic pride. Mrs. Patel printed the local article and taped it beside the attendance window. Daniel wrote "The ghost of Westbridge strikes again" on a sticky note underneath. Ms. Shaw removed it, then secretly handed it back to me. College emails changed tone. Schools that had placed my application on hold requested updated transcripts. One admissions officer wrote that the Citywide committee's report had clarified the integrity question. Clarified, another institutional word. This one I could live with. I chose Hamilton College's honors program because it offered strong writing, research funding, and enough scholarship support that Mom would not have to pick up extra shifts until her hands shook. When I clicked accept, Mom cried into a dish towel. "It's not Harvard," I said, trying to lighten the moment. She looked at me like I had lost my mind. "It is yours. That is better." Ryan came to my apartment 2 days after I committed. I saw him from the second-floor window before he rang. He stood beside the building entrance in a gray hoodie, no blazer, no tie, no audience. He looked younger without his polished context, or maybe he looked exactly 17. And I had finally stopped mistaking potential for character. Mom was at work. I considered not answering. Then I thought of private rooms and public records and opened the door with my phone recording in my back pocket. "You shouldn't be here," I said. He held out a small envelope. "I know, I wrote something, an apology, for you, not for the school." I did not take it. His hand lowered. "Avery, please, I know you don't owe me anything, I know that. But my counselor said sometimes making amends means offering the truth without expecting forgiveness." That sounded rehearsed, but not entirely false. "Then say the truth." He swallowed. "I chose Chloe because being needed by her made me feel important. Because her father treated me like someone with a future worth investing in. Because with you, I always felt like I had to earn the place beside you. And with her, I felt chosen by a world I wanted access to." The honesty was uglier than I expected. "And because," he continued, voice breaking, "I thought you would forgive me. I thought if I said I was sorry the right way, you would understand. You always understood me. I used that." The envelope trembled in his hand. "That is the first true apology you've given me," I said. Hope flashed in his face. That hurt, because hope is hardest when you are about to refuse it, but truth does not reopen a door. I said. He closed his eyes. "I know, do you?" He looked at me, "Because part of you still thinks if you suffer visibly enough, I will become the kind version of myself who fixes it for you." His mouth tightened. Not anger this time, recognition. I took the envelope. "I'll read it when I choose, not in front of you. Okay, do not come here again without asking. Okay." He stepped back. I got removed from the Henderson recommendation pool. The Henderson Fellowship had been his dream, or at least the dream he talked about most loudly. It connected students with congressional internships and private donors. Chloe's father had promised to introduce him to the selection committee. "I'm sorry," I said. And meant only the human minimum, not rescue, not grief, just acknowledgement that loss hurts even when earned. Ryan nodded as if he understood the limit. I keep thinking, he said, that what I lost was you, but that's not it, is it? I waited. I lost the person I thought I was, he said for once. He did not ask me to disagree. After he left, I sat on the stairwell and opened the envelope. The letter was 3 pages, handwritten, no excuses. No Chloe blame except where he named his own willingness to believe her, no request for a meeting, no ending with love always. It was better than I expected. It did not change my decision. I folded it and placed it in Westbridge file under apologies. Not everything in an evidence folder had to be used against someone. Some things were there to remind me that even a real apology does not obligate return. Graduation season arrived with humid afternoons and frantic emails. Northbridge asked me to speak at its ceremony. I refused twice. Ms. Shaw asked a third time by handing me a draft program with my name already penciled in. This is manipulation, I said. This is mentorship. The distinction is that I am correct. I don't want to become a symbol. Then don't speak as a person. Symbols are boring. People are harder to ignore. So I wrote a speech. I did not write about Westbridge by name. I wrote about records and repairs, about how some doors closing are actually walls admitting they were never doors, about how starting over is not proof that you failed the first place. Sometimes it is proof that you refused to be buried there. On the last day before graduation, Mia visited Northbridge. She stood awkwardly in the front office, twisting a friendship bracelet around her wrist. I met her outside because I did not want Westbridge ghosts inside my new hallways. I brought something. She said it was my blue composition book. My heart jumped. Where did you get that? Chloe's locker clean out. Serena dumped a bunch of stuff. I saw it in the trash pile. I think Chloe kept it. Maybe she forgot. Maybe she didn't care. I took it before anyone else saw. I opened the cover. My name was written inside in black ink. The pages were full of my notes, my arrows, my frantic all-caps reminders to revise conclusions and stop overusing. However, for weeks, I had proved the notebook existed through photos and fragments. Holding it felt different, like recovering a piece of my own hand. Thank you, I said. Mia nodded. I know we're not okay like before. No, she looked down. But I'm glad you brought this. I miss you, she said. The words hurt. There were versions of my life where I set them back and tried to rebuild exactly what had broken, but I was learning that not every loss needed to be reversed to be honored. I miss who we were before I knew what silence could cost, I said. She cried a little. I did not hug her. Then, after a moment, I did briefly with limits. That was new too. On graduation morning, I placed the blue notebook on my desk beside my scholarship letter and the Northbridge program. For the first time, Westbridge file was not open on my laptop. I did not need to look at the evidence to believe myself anymore. Northbridge held graduation in the football field because the auditorium was too small and, according to Daniel, too haunted by academic vengeance. The folding chairs wobbled on the grass. The sound system squealed twice during the principal's opening remarks. A plane flew overhead during the choir's song and drowned out an entire verse. It was imperfect in every possible way. I loved it. Westbridge's graduation was the same afternoon across town, with rented flowers and professional lighting and rows of navy caps. I knew because 3 people sent me pictures before I muted them. Ryan was in one, standing near the edge of a group photo, not smiling. Chloe was absent from another. Someone said she had finished the year remotely while her admission review continued. I did not ask for more. My life had spent enough time turned toward theirs. Mom sat in the second row at Northbridge with a camera she did not know how to use. Ms. Carter came too. She asked first, which mattered. She sat beside Mom, and when I saw them talking, something in me eased. Not because the past was fixed, because not every adult had stayed frozen inside the worst room. Daniel gave a speech as class representative and managed to mention the broken coffee machine twice. Priya received a science award and looked offended by applause. Marcus's family cheered so loudly he hid behind his diploma cover. Then Ms. Shaw introduced me. Our next speaker came to Northbridge in the middle of a storm. She said, she did not ask us to save her from it. She asked us for a desk, a fair process, and old exams. She has since taught this school something about preparation, accountability, and the quiet violence of underestimating a determined young woman, Avery Collins. I walked to the podium under a sky so bright I had to squint for a moment. I saw another hallway, frosted glass, Ryan's voice, Chloe's trembling hands, the confession waiting for my signature. Then I saw Northbridge, Daniel grinning, Priya pretending not to, Mom crying already, the blue notebook on my chair, because I had brought it with me like a witness that had finally come home. I unfolded my speech. When I transferred here, I began. A lot of people thought I had lost something, a school, a ranking, a reputation, a relationship. And I did lose things. Some of them hurt, some of them needed to be lost sooner. The field went quiet. But I also learned that starting over is not the same as starting from nothing. I brought every hour I had worked, every draft, every mistake, every lesson, every boundary I was late to build but finally built anyway. I looked at the graduates. People will sometimes call you difficult when you ask for records. They will call you cold when you stop comforting the person who hurt you. They will call you dramatic when you refuse to make someone else's lie easier to carry. Let them. Names are not facts, pressure is not truth, and survival is not consent. Mom covered her face. I continued. I used to think dignity was something people gave you when they finally understood you. I was wrong. Dignity is what remains yours before they understand, while they misunderstand, and after they realize they were wrong. No committee, no relationship, no rumor gets to own that unless you sign it away. The wind moved across the field, my paper fluttered, I pressed it down. So keep your drafts, keep your receipts, keep your name, and when a room asks you to become smaller so someone else can stay comfortable, leave the room intact, then build a life too large for it. For a second. Silence, then applause rose from the chairs, the bleachers, the teachers standing along the fence, not polished Westbridge applause, messy, loud. Daniel whistled until Priya hit him with her program. Mom stood, MS. Carter stood beside her, MS. Shaw did not clap at first, she just looked proud, then she joined. I stepped away from the podium lighter than I had felt in months. After the ceremony, we took photos under the goalpost because Northbridge's official photo backdrop had collapsed in the wind. Mom made me hold the scholarship certificate. Daniel insisted we take one with the broken coffee machine later. Priya told him he needed therapy. Marcus asked if we could all eat immediately. That was when Ryan appeared at the fence. He wore his Westbridge graduation gown unzipped over a white shirt. His cap was in his hands. He looked out of place on the Northbridge field, like a sentence from another story accidentally pasted into mine. Mom saw him first. Her smile faded. Do you want me to handle that? She asked. I looked at Ryan. He did not wave. He did not call my name. He waited, maybe finally understanding that access was not his by default. No, I said, I can. I walked to the fence. I stayed on my side of it. Congratulations, he said. Thank you. He looked past me at the field. The students, the crooked banner, the life he had not imagined I could build without him. Your speech was good, I know. A sad smile crossed his face. You would have said thank you before. I would have made you comfortable before. He nodded. I deserved that. The old Ryan would have defended. The new Ryan, or maybe just the damaged Ryan. Let the truth sit. I came to give you this, he said. He held out the silver bracelet from junior prom, the one I had left in the showbox. I realized then that I had never seen it after the move. Maybe it had been in my Westbridge locker. Maybe he had kept it. The tiny charm caught the sunlight. I thought returning it would be symbolic, he said. Then I realized that was selfish. So I am asking, do you want it back, or should I throw it away? A few months earlier, that question would have torn me open. Now it felt like sorting old papers. You can keep it or throw it away. I said, it doesn't belong to me anymore. His fingers closed around it. Do you hate me? I considered giving him the answer that would hurt most. I considered giving him the answer that would free him. Neither was my job. No, I said, I don't organize my life around you enough to hate you. His eyes filled. He looked down quickly. I don't know who I am without everyone thinking I'm good. Then find out before you ask anyone else to pay for the image. He laughed once, brokenly. You sound like MS. Sure, she's usually right. The field behind me burst into noise as Daniel yelled my name for more photos. My new life was impatient. I liked that Ryan heard it too. I should go, he said. Yes, he looked at me one last time. Avery, for what it's worth. I am glad you won. I didn't win because you lost, I said. I won because I stopped losing myself. He nodded, then he walked away along the outside of the fence, still holding the bracelet. I did not watch until he disappeared. Daniel shouted again. Avery, if you don't come now, Marcus is going to eat your cupcake. He can have it, I shouted back. Marcus looked personally offended by the accusation and still held the cupcake. I returned to them that evening. Mom and I ate takeout on the living room floor because neither of us wanted to cook, and the table was covered with graduation cards. My scholarship letter lay beside the blue notebook. My Northbridge diploma leaned against the couch. The Westbridge file folder was still on my laptop, but I had compressed a copy and stored it on an external drive. Not deleted, I had learned better than that, but archived. There was a difference. Mom handed me a fortune cookie. Mine said, "A new road is not a detour." She laughed. Even the cookie is dramatic. I taped the fortune inside the cover of the blue notebook. Later, after Mom went to bed, I opened my email. Hamilton had sent orientation information, housing forms, course selection, a welcome message from an advisor who had no idea that my name had recently been a battleground. I clicked through the pages slowly. Major interests, writing, public policy, ethics and institutions, emergency contact, Mom, preferred name, Avery Collins, no asterisk, no pending review, no unresolved concern. Just my name. I sat there for a long time, looking at the clean form, then I filled it out. In August, Mom drove me to Hamilton in the same old Civic that had carried me away from Westbridge. The trunk barely closed. My blue notebook rode in my backpack. The scholarship packet sat in the glove compartment because Mom wanted it close, as if someone might still try to take it. The campus was green and unfamiliar. Students crossed the lawn with boxes and nervous parents. No one whispered cheetah, no one looked for Chloe, no one asked where Ryan was at check-in. A volunteer handed me a key. "Welcome, Avery," she said. Such an ordinary sentence, such an impossible gift. Mom helped me make the bed. She cried twice and pretended both times she had allergies. When it was time for her to leave, she held my face in both hands. "You built this," she said. "We did." "No." Her eyes were wet and fierce. "I drove, I signed, I stood there, but you built it. Do not give that away, even to me." So I nodded. Because she was right. After she left, I sat at my new desk. Sunlight fell across the wood. Outside, someone laughed in the hallway. My roommate had not arrived yet. The room smelled like paint, laundry detergent, and beginning. I opened the blue notebook to the last used page, under a list of essay transitions. There was a blank space. I took out a pen and wrote one sentence. "I did not come back from what they did to me." Then I added another. I went forward. That night, Hamilton held a welcome event. On the quad, I stood among strangers under string lights while the dean spoke about integrity, curiosity, and belonging. Once, those words would have made me think of Westbridge banners and polished lies. Now I listened carefully, reserving judgment, keeping my own counsel. Belonging, I had learned, was not something a place could promise and then grant like a prize. It was something I negotiated with myself first. I belonged to my work, I belonged to my name, I belonged to the life I had refused to trade for Chloe Whitman's scholarship, Ryan Hale's reputation, or Westbridge High's comfort. My phone buzzed once, an unknown number. For a second, my body remembered old fear. Then I opened it. It was Mia. "First day okay?" I smiled faintly. "Yes." I wrote, "New road." Her reply came quickly. "Not a detour." I looked up at the lights strung across the quad. Around me, students began moving toward the dining hall, talking too loudly, laughing too soon, already building stories they did not know would matter. I put my phone away and followed them. I was not healed in the neat way people like to imagine. I still flinched at official emails. I still saved documents more carefully than most people saved photographs. I still felt anger rise when someone called a girl dramatic for asking a direct question. But I was free, not because they admitted what happened, not because Ryan apologized, not because Chloe lost the scholarship. I was free because I had stopped waiting for the people who hurt me to become the authors of my ending. I had written my name once under pressure and refused to sign a lie. Now I wrote it again, on library forms, class rosters, scholarship receipts, and the first page of every notebook I bought for college. Avery Collins. No confession attached. No boy standing beside another girl, asking me to survive being erased. No hallway full of whispers deciding my worth, just a name, mine.